Hi, everybody. This is Dan Stolbarger. Welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East update. It's the week of July 16th, and we're going to look back upon the different events that have taken place over the week and really what's taken place today. Just a reminder, you want to make sure to grab the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this presentation. So we always begin with our news bites, and this week, the polls are revealing there are two clear and deepening trends amongst the Israeli public. There's an overwhelming support for, to end the war and to get the hostages returned. So that's one thing. And then there's the demands that it's time to draft the ultra-Orthodox men. That's another thing. And then in the midst of all that, Netanyahu's government pieces are breaking off, which may determine that we're going to have early elections right away. So put that all in the kettle and stir it up, and you can see quite situation that we're involved in. And then, because the war has lasted as long as it has, there's more and more Israelis that are simply asking the question whether it's even possible to completely root out and destroy Hamas. We're seeing more and more soldiers that are being killed in the midst of trying to root out and end this war. The reality is that there's not much of an army per se within Hamas. It's more of guerrilla warfare, small bands that will sort of do that raids and then retreat sort of thing. So the question is there really an army of Gaza? So the issue is really now, how do we get the hostages back? And then in the midst of Trump trying to do a full court press as far as the ceasefire goes, we always hear it's going to be this week, it'll be by the end of the week. Israel has agreed, and then we have Qatar that's involved in the process. But right when you get to the doorstep of that, you always get this, once again, the Hamas spokesman, and this guy's name's Izzat Rasik, and he insists that they will never surrender. Now, these spokesmen for Gaza don't speak from within Gaza. They speak from the comforts abroad. While many Gazans are starving in the ruins, these decision makers aren't even in country at this particular time. And so what's to be done? The truth is that we'll get to this article in a second, but Trump is actually hosting one of the leaders of Qatar, and we're hoping and praying that there will be some movement. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's finish our news bites. Ted Cruz plans on introducing legislation, finally, I would say, that would label the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. And then over to Iran, the Iranian group is launching listen to this, $40 million bounty on President Trump's head. Again, backed by a fatwa and a call for jihad, openly calling for his assassination, quoting the Quran and mocking his security. This is, make no doubt about it, this is a state-backed terrorist threat. So the question is, where is the global outrage? Crickets, quiet. And finally, the nominee for the U.S. Ambassador of the United Nations, Mike Waltz, who was the former National Security Advisor, at the hearing, his quote, "I am committed to vetoing proposals at the UN against Israel," and added that it is now time for UNRWA to be completely dismantled. That's not going to go over big in Gaza, obviously, but that's our news bites for this week. Now let's take a look at our major articles. Bibi's world is complicated. It's Tuesday. Actually, it's Wednesday, but this article came out yesterday, and it said it's Tuesday, July 15th, and Benjamin Netanyahu's government fell from 68 seats to 61 seats overnight, the smallest possible majority in the 120-seat Knesset. And this all happened after one of the religious right, it's the Herderi Degel HaTorah faction, left the coalition. And that takes it to 61, which still gives him the power, but we're also reading that Shas, which is larger than HaTorah, in the coming days will step away, and that will drop Bibi's government down to a mere 50 seats. If that's the case, make no mistake about it, there will be snap elections that are coming up, probably in January. The issue is, despite their anger, the Orthodox anger with the government regarding the proposed draft of their yeshiva students or whatever, they're unlikely to find any better ally than Netanyahu at this time. So the question is horse trading, juggling, can Bibi pull it off? They're probably going to get to the summer recess, which is going to give another at least 60 days or so before any major thing would take place. But this is Bibi's world at this time. And then I found this interesting. This article is entitled Iran's Latest Excuse. Iran's latest excuse for getting humiliated during the 12-day war with Israel is that Israel used, quote, supernatural spirits, quote, magic, and more. This is not a joke. Abdullah Ganji, the senior Iranian mouthpiece, said it was just a strange phenomena that helped Israel win. They're seriously blaming Jewish spells, genies for their defeat. I guess they've never heard of the God of Israel. They're not blaming their outdated military. They're not blaming their corrupt regime or their suicidal ideology. No, they think that the Jews have somehow cast spells on their missiles. According to them, Israel's victories in Tehran were powered by mysticism, not by our God, not by the F-15s, not by the IDF elite units, not by world-class intelligence, but mysticism. So, question. What kind of regime blames supernatural powers when losing the war to Israel? Only a regime that's terrified of losing control, and only a regime, God willing, that is about to fall. Let's go back one here, and I talked about this latest excuse. What about a ceasefire update? So ceasefire and hostage release talks have been ongoing in Doha, Qatar, for the last week. But one of the most consequential meetings in the negotiations, and this is what I was referring to in the opening, could be happening tonight in Washington. President Trump is hosting the Qatar Prime Minister for dinner at the White House. Keep in mind, Doha has the power to push Hamas to accept a ceasefire. So whether tonight's dinner will exact a change in Qatar's approach to Hamas, it remains to be seen. The sit-down between Trump and the Qatari Prime Minister could literally change the tide in this 21-month-old war, or it can be just another missed opportunity. We'll know soon which one of those two takes place. And then the breaking news of what's taken place today is dealing with Syria, of all places, and the Druze. And as at the time of this YouTube presentation, it's still going on. We hear back and forth about ceasefires, but Syria's military entered into a stronghold of the Druze community last week, and it sort of broke out with forces between the Druze and we're hearing talk about genocide. We're hearing about genocide and what's taking place. The clashes have left 30 people dead, injured dozens more, and the Islamic forces that are aligned with the Syrian government have joined the fight in all of this, heightening the concern against the Druze and prompting a call for assistance and help. And Israel has stepped up. In fact, as we look at it now, Israel has vowed to protect the Druze that are in Syria. We are reading about airstrikes that are taking place in Damascus at this time. Trump is saying, calling for a timeout, catch your breath, don't do this. But this is all going on as we are making this recording right now. And so once again, only time will tell if there's going to be a ceasefire that holds. But Israel will protect the Druze in Syria. So it's just going to be a matter of time to see if this just becomes another one of those border situations. We've already dealt with Hezbollah in Lebanon. We've dealt with Hamas down in Gaza. Ongoing with the Yemenites or the Houthis. Of course, we've got Iran, and now what's going to happen in Syria? All right. Well, we do know this, is that there will come a time where Israel will stand alone. As we read Ezekiel 38 and 39, we know that Israel will be, in a sense, as it says in the text, that they'll be kind of caught off guard. They'll be living in unwalled villages, probably sensing their strength of the IDF when the invasion will take place. The invasion that will include Russia, Turkey, and Iran. Interesting that those are the three main parties that are rattling their sabers even today. The sad news will be that Israel will, at that time, be standing alone. So where are we here in the United States? Where will we stand at this particular time? A lot going on, a lot to say, but that's not the reason for this update. But just as you can see, anti-Semitism growing more and more and more and more and more off the charts. It's not hard to conceive of the time where Israel once again will have to stand alone. And when God delivers them, they're not going to be able to look over their shoulder and said, "We're thank God for the United States." They're not going to be able to look at their strength of the IDF. They will know that it was God alone that stood with them. And I believe that will be the beginning of when Israel begins to bow the knee and see Yeshua, Jesus, as their Messiah. The beginning. And then just as we wrap this up, I just saw this. I find it interesting. Having been to Israel over 50 different times, we've visited many of the kibbutzes down. We've been into Gaza itself. We've worked in Sderot. And so take a look at what Israel is proposing as the new Gaza borders if and when the ceasefire takes place with Gaza. And so you can see the red line there, and you can see the no man's land that Israel is creating in terms of providing security and safety for Sderot, for Bibi, and for that area right next that butts up to Gaza. And then, hard to end with this, but hackers have gone onto the Sesame Street website, and here's Elmo, and here's the new Sesame Street. It's the official Elmo account, and notice what Elmo is saying: kill all the Jews. This is the day in which we're living. This is today. Well, we're happy to say that our Land, the People, and the King Israel tour that will go from October 30th to November 9th is sold out at this time. We are taking names for a waiting list, so if you would like to join us, we've capped this trip at 25. And so the bottom line is that if somebody were to drop out or couldn't make it, we're taking a waiting list. So if this would be of interest to you, please contact us right away. We'll give you the information concerning it. But if you want to know more about the Land, the People, and the King, it's on our website at holygroundexplorations.com. So that is the report for this week. God bless you. And just a reminder, Scripture tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Make sure you do that. So with that, shalom.